We've told you before about Adam Maier-Clayton, who supports doctor-assisted suicide, including for people who are mentally ill. He has been fighting to get the government to include mentally ill people in the definition of who's allowed to access the provision now for assisted dying in Canada. He now says his condition is getting worse. Adam Maier-Clayton joins us on Ottawa Today. Good afternoon, Adam.
Hi, Mark. I apologize. I'm having kind of a difficulty hearing you.
Okay. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Great. Now, tell me a little bit about what you've been going through recently. You told us before about some of the challenges you've had since you were a child, mental illnesses, obsessive-compulsive disorder, anxiety. So what's been happening lately?
Well, I mean, nothing really has changed aside from the fact that my symptoms are just getting more aggressive. I mean, just to do this interview, I had to pretty much be silent and minimize any cognitive activity for a couple hours in advance, and this is probably just going to be a 10 or 15-minute segment. I am losing more and more of my ability to talk to people verbally because talking incapacitates me. The pain that's induced from that simple action, it literally incapacitates me. Cognitive functions such as reading and writing is really pretty much a no-go. I post on Facebook, and what I do post is not too much, and even the paragraphs I do post literally wreak havoc on me physically. In terms of anxiety, depression, same exact symptoms, except I feel as if the depressive sentiment, the soullessness I experience on a day-to-day basis is worsening. In terms of treatment, I've now endured ketamine infusions. We're using cannabis oil. We've tried a multitude of other medications since we last spoke. So I'm doing everything that a logical person would do, but unfortunately, nothing positive is really being gained.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Now, what do you think about the discussion we're having in Canada and the fact that the government and others do not consider the pain you're experiencing to be comparable to or in the same category as the pain that's experienced by people who are experiencing a physical illness and want to end their own lives?
Well, I mean, the short and sweet of it is it's fundamentally nonsensical. I mean, of course, pain experience with a physical ailment has a very identifiable pathology, and these people are obviously experiencing really, really bad pain. I should also note that we have medications that do somewhat control the pain that people with physical ailments experience. Now, on the other hand, people with mental illness also can experience excruciating pain. I know this because I experience excruciating pain on a day-to-day basis. I know this because I've read countless forum threads and talked to countless patients, and since a lot of my media has come on the various newspapers, etc., I've received hundreds of messages specifically from people who experience physical pain from these mental illnesses. And not only that, but the pharmacological treatments that modern science has enabled us to offer to these sufferers, it doesn't treat that pain, that somatoform/neuropathic pain. So you have these people with these ailments, where they're these mentally charged ailments, who are in fact experiencing excruciating pain, but there's really no relief from it. And on top of it, society is there saying, well, you don't have cancer, you don't have this, and it doesn't make sense.
Where do you see this debate going? And because I think you've said that you don't expect it to change, even though you'd like it to. You don't expect the government to allow people with a mental illness to seek medically assisted dying.
I think what's going to happen is if I had to bet on it and forecast the future, I would imagine that the BCCLA is going to win their next charter challenge, which is Lamb versus Canada. And that will open doors, whether that entails mental illness or not. That's something that remains to be seen. But if the BCCLA beats the federal government yet again, it will definitely open a door for another charter challenge. And I think inevitably mental illness will be covered. I can't comment on the restrictions as to what must be done for these people to actually qualify, if that is a possibility in the future. But I do see it opening, just not in my lifetime, because frankly, I don't anticipate myself being around too much longer, unfortunately.
If you can't seek a doctor's assistance in taking your own life, are you going to explore other options? Is that what you're saying?
Options have been explored, and actually the substances needed to induce a painless death have actually already been acquired for me by other people. And when I'm ready to pursue that route, I'll be granted access. They're not near me. I'm in no form of criminal possession or anything of that nature, but I can definitely access them when I want to.
And you feel like you're getting close to that point?
Yeah, I do. Really, I do, because from a scientific standpoint, there isn't many more treatments to do. We have a lot of people who have read about my case, and everyone's an armchair doctor, and they say I have Lyme or this or that. I've been tested for a multitude of physical ailments, all results coming back clear. It's pretty evident that what I'm experiencing is because of neurobiological flaw, and the sad reality is that if you have such a brain that's malfunctioning to the level of mine, it's really akin to having the Black Plague in like the 14th century. We just unfortunately don't have the pharmacological technology and treatments to properly treat the ailment in a way that would give me and other sufferers a good quality of life.
There are those people, I suppose, who would look at this and who, while they might support your right to make a decision about your own future, would see it as a tremendous loss of hope if somebody like you, who's been such an outspoken advocate on mental health issues, would end his life. Do you understand what I'm saying by that? That when someone who speaks out about mental illness publicly wants to end his life, that some people see that as a loss of hope.
Well, I mean, in all seriousness, I haven't exactly been secretive about my future intentions if I don't get better. In fact, I've been quite the opposite. I've stated it in multiple radio interviews. It's pretty much the basis of a lot of the written material that's been published about me. I have a very, very realistic standpoint when it comes to mental illness and the age we currently live in. It is based on many, 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 many scientific studies, countless hours of reading, and having other people read to me now that I've lost my ability to read. And the reality of some of these cases is just too much for some people to handle. They don't want to acknowledge the fact that there is such a thing as refractory illness. There is such a thing as someone being born in a way where genetically they're going to seem okay for 5, 10, then 15, 20 years, and then in their early 20s, things are going to start changing. They might start experiencing more aggressive anxiety, and it will build and build, and it will get to a point where it's out of control, and even our most aggressive forms of treatment, like like the ones I've endured, obviously won't help. And the what I just described in terms of the timeline is literally pretty much what I have experienced, where in my youth I seemed pretty good, like a happy-go-lucky kid. Teen years, things started getting a little different. And by my early 20s, things were getting very, very intense. And unfortunately, with some of these sufferers, and I say this not to intimidate people, but just to give a realistic viewpoint on the situation, some of these people are not going to get better. And to act as if all mental illness is treatable because we have, SSRIs, SNRIs, we have social workers, etc., is nonsensical. And that's really the point of view that society has. They do not want to believe that some of these illnesses are incurable, etc., etc.
I'm very sorry to hear that you have been going through a tough time and that it's not getting better, but I hope that changes. And I appreciate your candor on this subject. Adam Maier-Clayton, thank you very much for joining us today.
Cheers.
Good luck to you. Adam Maier-Clayton is an advocate for assisted dying for people suffering from a mental illness.